Having lost her only child after birth, this lady stands tall amidst the unexplainable pain. She's wept, she's questioned, she's quivered, she's grieved, she'd fallen too, but not once did she doubt how big her God is. Always filled with gratitude and ever ready to embrace life and God's beautiful creations, not only is she a successful career woman, she's rescued dogs, flipped homes, taught dance, and also accompanies her husband in all kinds of extreme sports. Don't miss this chat where Somte talks about house flipping and dealing with the loss of her son. Faith does move mountains. Ladies and gentlemen, Somte from Alberta, Canada. If this is your first time, I'm Candy, your host for the show. I hope you enjoy it and don't forget to subscribe and like. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What a pleasure to see you, Somte. Thank you so much for coming to Candid with Candy.
Thank you for having me, Candy.
I know that, you've been wanting to start your YouTube channel now for forever, but you don't have the time yet. So probably this is going to be a little sneak peek.
And what better platform than Candid with Candy? Yes.
Yeah. And now everybody's wondering what we're talking about. So we'll get on to it. House flipping, right? I didn't know much about it until, I got to know you. First of all, what is house flipping? I think this is something that everybody would want to know.
I think house flipping is when you buy a house, redo it, so renovate the entire property, and then you sell it for a profit. So what we did was we bought a house and we renovated it, we fixed it up. And then as we moved from one place to the other, we sold it for a profit, but we made it beautiful. But a lot of people flip homes just for profit, and it takes them, they have a timeline for fixing it, so they're not losing any money, and then they sell it for a profit.
Right. So the difference is you do it for like a hobby, and a lot of people do it for a living. So how many houses have you flipped so far since you moved to Canada?
So we have done 3. We are actually on our 3rd house. Anything that we did to each house was complete, inside and out, top to bottom. We'll see what happens after we are done with this house, because I love this house.
What have been people's reaction? Like say home number 1, home number 2. After you did what you had to and you put in your heart and soul into it. And again, this is all because of passion, not because, you're thinking about the money that you're going to get out of it.
The first was, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Then the second reaction was, how are you still together? And the third reaction was, how much did you guys fight through it? Because one thing they say here is, when you do a renovation, right, as a couple, if you still stay together after it, then that's the testament of how strong your relationship and your marriage is. So
really,
those were people's reactions.
Maybe it can be used as some form of marriage therapy.
Yes.
How did the idea of house flipping, because this is not something that, neither you nor your husband ever learned, or, you weren't architects, or so how did it begin? Like, how did the interest spark?
When we bought our first house, we didn't have a lot of money to buy our first home. So we bought the starter's home, and a lot needed to be done. And I think that sparked us wanting to change things, because we couldn't afford a house that was already done and pretty. And my in-laws are into changing homes and making it look pretty, and they helped us. And that is how it started. And in 2007, we bought our second house. That's how it started, out of a necessity and a need.
The $1 million question. Both you and your husband work full-time. And when I say full-time, I know like you're busy. You manage to renovate these homes. It's not only about the physical labor, it's also about, using your mind to kind of ideate, design. So can you let us know, like, how do you manage, both of you?
We do it in sections. So if today we're going to work on just doing the trimmings for 1 bedroom or 1 bathroom, or, today is just going to be of painting the walls, and what walls are we going to paint? I do it in sections. During the weekday, we plan something that is a smaller task. that is achievable. And if it's achievable and you finish it the same day or in that week after having a hard day's work, there's a feeling of accomplishment. And that motivates you to carry on for the next task. And in the weekends, we set aside bigger tasks and bigger jobs. So we plan everything out. And obviously, we can't plan every time, but we try as much as possible. Like today, so we have a project set and he does his stuff, I do my stuff, we check on each other. So have a task, make it achievable, because once it's achievable and you achieve it, there is that sense of accomplishment and you look back at the end of the day, the end of the week, and you're like, we did it. And then you start again the next day.
So there's never a dull day. And then you have your dogs to look after.
Never a dull day.
And probably that's when I'd like to transition to the next part of, the questions that I have, right? You lost your son many years ago. So, and I'm just trying to, kind of relate what you're saying in terms of, filling your days, right, with something to do all the time. Does that have to do anything with, dealing with the loss of your son as well?
No, no. Getting out of that was actually, he was born. He passed away after he was born. So he would have been 14 this December. You never forget, right? You just have to learn to adjust and you'll never forget. Every year will be like, what would have been, what would his interest been? Would he have enjoyed sports? Like, my husband is a very sporty person. He likes to do all adventure sports. So would he have been more miso and liked music or played an instrument? My husband plays percussionist and a drummer. My mother-in-law is a pianist. My brother-in-law sings. And my family, we love singing. So you think of all these things as the years pass. I think you fill your time with good thoughts of what could have been. One of the things I'm very conscientious is when people lose their child, they often say, oh, you understand. I do understand the pain and the emptiness, but we all lose somebody special in our life at a different stage of our life. And as much as I understand, what we go through is all still very personal. And sometimes, yes, I do things to put my mind away. And at the end of the day, it was a struggle for quite a while. It was a struggle. Why? And we don't have kids because, we can't have kids. And that's why we rescue dogs now. We have 2 dogs. It is a struggle. And I think as long as you have that faith, for me, it's my faith in God that's really helped me. And then you have good people around you to help you through it, which is really helpful. And then if you do other activities in the meantime, that is helpful, because I think for your mental health, it's really good to be out there. And we spent a lot of times outdoors, hiking or just going out with friends and fixing our house. So a lot of components helped.
Keeping yourself busy is definitely just one aspect of it, because there's so much of mental processing that's happening. And, the healing process in itself is a very different kind, right? When you talk about, faith, right? At the beginning, when all this happened, did you ever question God? Like, why? Or was there anger?
Of course I did. Many, many, many times. And I think the day he was born too, like my mother-in-law was here and they got into a massive accident, but God kept them safe. So of course, always why? And yeah, you question, but as much as I question why, I never, I know a lot of people were praying for me. I don't think I ever doubted how big our God is in doing what he did. And soon after, my dad passed away and my husband's father had passed away too. And the biggest thing was, at least, and my dad and his dad love kids, right? So when our son passed away, it's like they love children. So now they are all in heaven and they have a grandson to take care of. Yeah. So it was a good thought. And I think as the years passed, you don't question the why so much, but I think you just understand, because we have an understanding God and he loves us. There was a lot of healing and it wasn't instantaneous. It was, I think, 7 or 8 years of healing. but not 7 and 8 years of questioning. Because I think as you pray and spend time, you get that sense of peace. But it's just getting past that hurdle, right? So
every loss is very personal and in very different ways for people. But thank you for sharing that with us. I think the punchline was not spending 7, 8 years questioning, but spending those 7, 8 years healing. I think that was beautifully put. The kind of strength and the gratitude that that you live life with every day is so amazing. How do you make your son a part of your everything that you do? How do you commemorate him? I think that's the question.
Well, his name was Phoenix. My husband gave him that name. A lot of people have asked, what do you do? When things like these happen, we're very private people, so we don't really talk about it either. We share it, but we don't go, oh, so we don't do anything big. It's just between the two of us. We talk about him and what it would have been like, but we don't do anything massive, like people go for 10 kilometers run, or they give to a charity, or I know a lot of my friends who do that, or have something in their children's name or their parents, but we just keep it between the two of us. And this is the first time I'm really talking about it, because it's difficult to talk about it, right? We just keep it to ourselves, and I think we're happy, and that's how we have a understanding, and we heal that way. So everybody again is different when they heal, and that's just our way.
And I think that's how you find your peace too, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing about that very sensitive part of your life. Since you've gone through such a big loss yourself, what message do you have for people who are in grieving?
Having faith and relationship for me in Jesus has really, really, really helped me. And I lost a really dear friend in May this year, and Candy, you know about him. And I think one of the things that I learned through my devotions and everything is our God is silent, but he's always there. He listens, even though he's not there in person. Sometimes he sends, other people to help you through that stage. And you got to be able to recognize that this person is there in your life because God sent this person, and recognize that and pray together. We have to try to reach out to other people as well. It's not always about us. There are other people grieving. There are other people that are suffering, and they might not have that faith, or other friends that have faith that they can get that peace from and through. And grieving is a process that's different for everybody, and we can't say, hey, you're grieving too long, or oh my gosh, how are you doing okay so fast? It's a process, and it's a stage for everybody, and everybody goes through different cycles. We just have to be there, understand, and uplift people in prayer. And one of the biggest things I do is when I'm praying for somebody, I let them know, because that itself is uplifting. Is someone is there thinking about me somewhere in the world and praying for me. Find that peace and that faith, because it's really helpful and healing. And don't stay in a closed compartment, because that's not healthy. Consistency is key in anything, whether your relationship with God, your relationship with people. And you got to work towards everything. You got to work to getting over grief. You got to work for friendships. You got to work for relationships. Everything you got to work. And like we said at the beginning of our interview, you got to work to build this house and do something and have a plan and a purpose, right?
Thank you for sharing your journey. Welcoming Somte to Candid with Candy's Rapid Fire. What part of the house do you like renovating the most?
None. No, I'm just kidding. The bedroom?
Bedroom? Okay. Do you prefer the beach or the mountains?
Mountains.
What's your favorite wine?
Cab Sav.
Fill in the blanks. Dogs are?
The best ever.
With or without makeup?
Without.
Canada or Izol?
I don't know. Canada? Now?
I also know that you're a dancer. So who's your favorite dancer?
Oh, back in the days, I used to like Paula Abdul. Now there are just too many talented people. So I'm going to say Channing Tatum, even though he doesn't dance anymore.
I also know that you and your husband do a lot of extreme sports. So which is your favorite extreme sport?
It's not my favorite. It's his favorite was snowboarding.
What do you dislike more? Snow or rain?
Snow.
Thank you so much for your time, Usamte.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. For more of such great stories, don't forget to check out the rest of my videos. Till next week, take care and God bless. Ta-ta.